Hey Vikings, today's Friday, February 26th, and there's your Bulletin.
PBIS, you have a meeting today at 1:30. Make sure to use your Google Meet link.
Health Academy Club will meet on Monday at 11:45, just before advisory. Let's plan a great year. Hope to see you there.
Hey Dance Club, you will have a meeting today at 1:15. Make sure to come into the meeting. We will be having new announcements.
California is now the global epicenter of COVID-19 pandemic, and the situation is dire, but there's lots you can do to help. Bring a friend to GSA Cookies for COVID meeting on March 9th if you want to improve the conditions of our state.
Interact Club, make sure to support your community. On February 27th, make sure to make a purchase at Chipotle.
GHGH, Find the Magic Within. Registration is required. Girls ages 11 to 18. First 150 girls will receive a t-shirt and a pack. Join us for our daily sessions March 1st to March 5th, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Workshops include self-care, healthy relationships, reconnecting with nature, healthy eating, and coping with difficult times. Activities include powerful poetry, yoga, self-defense, meditation, and art sessions. Please contact the email below for more information.
Seniors, make sure to accept your Salinas Valley Promise. The deadline is March 2nd.
Seniors, March 2nd is upon us. Next Tuesday, it's essential that you accept your Salinas Valley Promise if you plan on going to Hartnell, or even if it's a backup. Make sure you take about 5 minutes and go to hartnell.edu/promise/ and accept your Salinas Valley Promise so you're eligible for that free tuition for 2 years at Hartnell College. If you want more information on this, go to the Senior Google Classroom and look at the post that Mrs. Vargas placed in there on February 8th. If you need further assistance, shoot me an email, brian.preble@salinasuhsd.org.
Hey Vikings, some of our students have been working on their first ever virtual Viking yearbook, and I can't stress enough that this yearbook will not be sold past the selling deadline this school year. That means there's no buying it over summer, next year, or even when you freshmen or seniors. And why would you miss the opportunity to brag and show off to your children and grandchildren about the struggle you had to endure over these times? Don't regret the choice of not buying yours. Visit jocelyn.com to buy your copy.
Hi, my name is Chris Woolon, and I'm a senior at Seaside High School. So growing up, I didn't really know what the word meant. I was just told by my dad that it was a bad thing for people who like us to be called. It wasn't until towards the end of middle school and beginning of high school that I really started getting a better understanding of its history and meaning behind it. I also want to say that the statement "it's just a word" or anything like that is both a gross misunderstanding of its historical context and a severe downplaying of the African American experience in this country. To me, I don't really care when Black people use it, but I do understand there are people within the Black community who don't want to hear it from anybody. But for Black people who do use it, I think because of our roots in this country, it's always set on an equal playing field. It's never anyone punching down, and it's almost like an acknowledgement of our shared experience in the way that we interact with society and the way society interacts with us. However, when a non-Black person uses it, I and many others will always see it as an offense. If that person doesn't know what it means, at this point, it's just willful ignorance. And if they do know what it means and still use it, it's just blatant racism. It was a word used by others to demean Black people and to try to strip away our humanity. So when a non-Black person says it, it implies some sort of inferiority. There's no experience comparable to that of African Americans in America. And because of that, there's no way that a non-Black person can equally understand kind of like the background of the word, and there's no way they can use it the same way Black people use it with each other. I especially dislike when non-Black people say that because they grew up in a certain area or because they grew up poor or anything like that, that they should be able to say it. To me, that's just a different form of racism. That just shows that they equate being Black with being poor, being uneducated, growing up in poor situations. It also implies that it's not a Black person's place to be successful, and if they are, they're suddenly less Black because of it, which is just wrong. It's in the end, it's a word with a heavy history behind it, and it's always going to be interpreted differently by different people.
Hi, my name is Michael DeBisi. I'm a senior here at North Salinas High School, and I've been asked to share with you today my personal opinion on the N-word and its usage. I think it's a really important conversation that needs to be had because there's a lot of history behind that word. There are very strong feelings that people feel when they hear that word, and I'm going to share some of my own feelings here today. I could talk at great length about the history behind the word, its definition, and how that definition has evolved over time, but instead I'm just going to share one individual story that I've had with that word because I think it illustrates a very important point. Throughout my educational career, I've experienced being the only African American or one of very few African Americans in a classroom. I know it's an experience that a lot of my friends share in, and I know I can speak for all of them when I say that it's frequently very uncomfortable because there are certain subject matters that your fellow students will feel like they have to look to you for or get your expression or get your reaction on. Issues like slavery or reparations, the civil rights movement, any sort of black issue, they've got to sort of look at you. And for several years, I remember having those sort of lessons and then seeing all of those students' eyes descending on me. And this story is really an extension of one of those experiences. So this story takes place during one of those lessons. It was back in middle school for me. We were in the middle of our unit on the Civil War doing a lesson on slavery that day, and I had felt a lot of the students' eyes on me, which had already made me uncomfortable. But as if that weren't enough for me to bear and to deal with, completely spontaneously, a student decides to turn around, point at me, and then yell the N-word right in my face. And at that point, if I had thought that there were students' eyes who were on me, I definitely knew it. I was still pretty young at this point, so I had no clue how to deal with this emotionally. I remember it feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room, my face got really hot, and I was humiliated. I remember wanting to rip off my skin just to shed my blackness. I wanted in that moment to be anything or anyone but black. I wanted to be like anyone else in that room. And I knew that that could not be. And that's a really tough feeling for a kid to have. No child wants to feel like they are different, certainly not feel like they're less than. And that was what I felt like in that moment to the highest extent. Now, obviously, this person was escorted from the classroom and disciplined for their behavior, but I still had to live with the consequence of that action. I remember not knowing what to do with myself for the rest of the school day and just counting the seconds until I got to be home where I could just relieve myself and cry. But when I got home, I didn't cry. I was just too angry. I was angry because the person who said that knew the weight of it, and the great irony was that they had decided to do it in a classroom in the middle of our lesson on slavery, and they chose to say it to me. And so every time I hear someone using that kind of language, it takes me back to that moment as a child and forces me to relive all of that pain and anger and humiliation. Because like the person who used that language on that day, these folks understand the weight and the history and the immense pain behind that word, yet they continue to choose to use it. They know that there are folks out there like me who've had such negative experiences with these words, and there are folks out there who've had it so much worse. But they completely disregard that. And I don't get it. I think it's wrong. So the next time you feel tempted to use that word, I would ask you to stop for just a moment and ask yourself a pretty basic question. Is the use of that one word so important to you that you would become black for it? To be clear, I just want to say I am extremely proud to be black. I wouldn't choose to be any other race of people if I could. But what I mean is, in exchange for using that one word, would you bear 400 years of oppression, pain, discrimination, and suffering? Would you live with the same struggles our people face today and face the unknown struggles of tomorrow? Just to use that one word? If the answer is no, then don't use the word. But if the answer is yes, I would implore you, please pay more attention in your history classes. Pay more attention this month as we discuss Black history, the events of our people, because they haven't always been pretty. I don't think that anyone should use that word, but there are very clearly some people who can and others who cannot. You know who you are, and if you can't, then don't.
The Viking creed never give up, stay focused, honor yourself and others, and stay positive. That's it for today, Vikings. Have a fantastic Friday.